I'm Neil Davis, Senior Partner at Caddick Davis Solicitors. We're a firm of solicitors who specialise in representing people who are charged or investigated for motoring offences. The first stage of many motoring prosecutions, particularly where the driver of the vehicle is unknown, is for the police to send out a request for driver information to the registered keeper of the vehicle, asking them to identify who the driver of the vehicle was. It is important that this notice is correctly responded to, as if the registered keeper, or indeed any other person to whom the notice is sent, doesn't properly respond, then they may find themselves prosecuted for an offence of failing to identify the driver, which in itself attracts 6 penalty points and a fine of up to £1,000. The form which you'll receive from the police is relatively straightforward and usually contains 3 parts. The first part is to be completed if you were the driver of the vehicle, in which case you simply tick the appropriate box, fill out your personal information and ensure that you sign the form. It is very important that you do sign the form. The second part of the form, if you weren't the driver but you know who the driver of the vehicle was, you simply complete that person's details and again send off the form as appropriate. Finally, if you've disposed of the vehicle, perhaps it's been sold or it's been scrapped before the date of the offence, then you simply complete the last part of the form confirming that information. If you complete a request for driver information, you are not admitting the offence. All you are doing is confirming that you were the driver of the vehicle at the time of the offence. Ultimately, if you dispute the offence, you'll be able to challenge it and have your say before a court of law. Once you've completed the form, the police will decide what happens next. If you've identified somebody else as the driver, then that person will receive a similar notice from the police. If you've identified yourself as the driver, the police will then decide what should happen. This might be that you're offered the chance to attend on a form of driver improvement course. It may be that you receive an offer of a fixed penalty notice, or indeed you may be prosecuted and taken to a court. If you don't reply to the form or you simply ignore it, you are committing the offence of failing to provide driver information. This offence attracts 6 penalty points and a fine of up to £1,000. That may in fact be worse than the original offence to which the notice related. It's the responsibility of the registered keeper of the vehicle to identify who the driver of the vehicle was. And if you don't do so, there's a real possibility that you'll be prosecuted before a magistrate's court for the offence of failing to provide driver information. If you simply don't know who the driver of the vehicle was, the obligation is on you to exercise all reasonable diligence to work out who the driver of the vehicle was. That will include things such as speaking to each of the possible drivers to try and identify who it was, and also things such as looking at the location of the offence. Ultimately, if you still don't know who the driver of the vehicle was, you should write to the police, you should identify the problems that you're having, and you should also name all of the possible drivers of your vehicle. It's quite possible that you may still be prosecuted before a court, but if you act in the proper way, if you take all reasonable steps to work out who the driver of the vehicle was, then you may be able to defend any charge against you.